For more on this, I'm joined by Michael Geoghegan, a political analyst based in Victoria, BC. Let's start with this Canadian delegation in China, Michael. Of course, they went there for economic reasons. Can they avoid, though, not talking about our Canadians that are detained there?
Well, obviously, the Canadian media is going to be asking them about it, and it does put them in a very difficult situation. But the fact remains is that although the Huawei executive is under house arrest, she's living in a multi-million-dollar mansion. Meanwhile, the two people that have been detained, there's actually 14 Canadians that are detained right now by China, but the two that are of particular concern, including a former diplomat, they're in cells where the lights are on 24/7. So I mean, it's not just imprisonment, but it's that, bordering on psychological torture, the conditions they're being held under. So it's quite a disparity. So there's going to be a lot of pressure, I think, by the Canadian media in terms of the dealings with China.
I guess this is the question going forward, too. Every single trade talk we go into, every single time someone's coming here or there, this will have to be on the agenda, at least subtly.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is a multi-layered problem in the sense that, in terms of the Five Eyes, the five countries that Canada's part of in terms of basically our spy agencies, they're certainly frustrated that Canada has continued to entertain allowing that company to build a 5G network. They think that's a huge compromise in terms of Western security. And that might explain in part why we haven't seen the kind of resounding outpouring against China in terms of doing this. And then, of course, there's other old hands in Ottawa who are saying, we didn't need to get caught in this situation. All we had to do was discreetly give a heads up to the Huawei executive and say, hey, you might want to get out of Dodge because the Americans want to extradite you. And then, of course, the fallout from this is not just economic and political. It's also had a cooling trend in terms of Vancouver's overheated housing market. So it's a very interesting problem that's had a multitude of outcomes.
Absolutely. Okay, let's shift gears here. Let's talk about the fact that it's 2019. That means it's election year here in Canada. Michael, let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses of our federal leaders right now.
Well, in terms of Justin Trudeau, the issue he has to grapple with is one that has dogged him for a while, and that is making sure that he's being seen as having sufficient gravitas to continue to be Canada's representative on the world stage. He's certainly been a darling of the international media, but when it comes to disputes like this very difficult situation that Canada's now caught in between China and the United States, and the United States that, quite frankly, has not been the kind of friend to us under Donald Trump that it has been under previous presidents, that's a huge challenge. And so he has to, in a sense, rise against the bias that, in terms of his looks and his international publicity, in some senses, they worked hugely for him in the last election. They may be a bit of a negative for him. For Andrew Scheer, it's the opposite problem. He's not telegenic, he's not charismatic, but he's meat and potatoes. And so the advantage he has is that Canadians are like, okay, let's see some common sense meat and potato policies. And quite frankly, let's have a leader that's prepared to be a little bit tougher, a little more with their elbows out, and a little less, sunshiny ways. And then for the NDP leader, there's a by-election coming up in Burnaby. It's critical, I believe, that he wins that by-election, because to lose that by-election and then go into a general election where the NDP is struggling to stay in the double digits in terms of popular opinion polls, it's going to be critical. And then, of course, we have Max Bernier and his party that he's trying to get going. So there's lots of wild cards. And then, of course, the Green Party. Well, how much of a role are they going to play in the federal election? Lots of factors that play here.
Yeah, Michael, we have all year to talk about it. I'm excited. Michael Geoghegan, political analyst based in Victoria, BC. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you.